Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Aurel Phoenix, also known as Sarah Rabenherz, and today I'm super excited to share with you this new piece. It's a mixed media charcoal drawing. Have you ever tried drawing with charcoal? Honestly, I never thought I could deal with it. It's really not that easy. But something clicked for me with this one piece. This piece marks the beginning of a new project series, which are called The Gods of Tomorrow. Let's make an experiment, and in this video I'll walk you through my entire art process. The idea for this drawing emerged from a comic project idea I had. As you may know, I'm also a hobby writer, and sometimes I like drawing characters from my stories. Now this one is called The Seven Circuits, and it's a story about a virtual reality in which there are entities that function as gatekeepers of the network. And those gatekeepers are called comdroids. And you may have guessed from my videos on the channel, I'm sort of a techie and a mythology nerd, and I thought, why not merge those two together and create a Medusa-like figure? You know, the one with hair made of snakes that turns you into stone when you look into her eyes. I'm sort of obsessed with that one in particular. But I wanted to give her a modern techie twist and turned all the hair into wires. And those wires are connected to her surroundings. So she's practically hardwired to the virtual network, like some personified processing unit. There are lots of symbols on those cables and on her skin, because, you know, all your hardware has numbers and stuff on it. Hehe. But I'm also a great fan of the movie The Matrix, which has influenced me a lot, and so the writing is also something like the nonsense language in that code that runs over the screen in the movie. Now, let's talk about the materials I used for this piece. As I wanted to practice using charcoal, of course, I have used charcoal. But not just charcoal. I have different brands and different shades of charcoal because, charcoal, just like pencils, comes in different shades. And some are darker, some are lighter, and there are different forms. Sometimes there is stuff added to the charcoal, and this sort of changes the darkness or the usability of the tool. And so some charcoal you can use well for sketching, and some you can use to really apply and add layers and layers of darkness. So next to my 50 shades of charcoal, I have soft pastel and some random pencils and fine liners and erasers. I used white acrylic paint to enhance the highlights, white gel pens, black and white pencils, and fine liners for adding details. The paper I selected is heavyweight to handle multiple layers and prevent excessive smudging. Each tool plays a crucial role in achieving the final look of the portrait. Or at least that's what ChatGPT wanted me to say at this point. But honestly, this was one of my first charcoal drawings ever, so I was very much just stumbling into this with all the stuff I have accumulated in my workspace. And what goes in here is a lot of trial and error, and of course some knowledge from other works I did with other materials. So most of the time I'm just experimenting and trying out things, and then I find out that something is missing to the piece, or that I want to add a highlight, and I just experiment and find a solution for that. This comes with doing first pieces. And when you do it again, you sort of have acquired a certain pool of knowledge and tools you can use, and you know in what layer you will use them. But that doesn't naturally come in the first work. I started the portrait by smudging charcoal directly onto the paper. I didn't create a preliminary drawing because I wanted to cover the paper quickly with darkness, providing a base for the portrait. And also because it was great fun and I like smudging. Once the base was ready, I made a very rough sketch for the portrait and then added layers and highlights. Different kinds of erasers help me reduce the weight of the charcoal layer by layer and create effects. I blend with my fingers and with other tools like Q-tips, or you can also use brushes for this. Just like with pencils, some of the charcoal pieces are much darker than others. I start with light graphite and then use progressively darker materials to add to the shadows. I also focus on working out the facial anatomy. It's important to keep the light spots light from the start, to maintain a consistent light source throughout the piece. If you allow the white of the paper to shine through in some places, the drawing will be much more vivid than just by paving it with color. The last smudging layer is one of soft pastels. I have found that pastel sticks add great depth to a charcoal drawing because the pigments of the blacks are much darker and the whites create nice highlights too. When you blend them with charcoal, it will result in interesting grays and add plasticity. As you can see, I worked on the face and the background simultaneously. This is because it is rather a spontaneous work, and I want to work on the overall composition. Some of this I do automatically because it feels right. If this were a more planned out work, I'd start with a detailed sketch of fore and background that establishes the complete composition from the start. For the background of this one, I wanted to create technical structures that look technical but also remind of organic structures. Because you know, Medusa and snakes are organic in a way, right? But I also enjoy the idea of those wires, which are a representation of the network, to be something organic, something that is basically growing just as a network is growing. But because in a way networks are technical, but they are also organic in a way because they can grow. Next, I added some finer details. Using acrylic paint, I created the lightest spots. This was a bit of a last resort here. Drawing, and especially the pastels, got darker every time I used fixative and the highlights were almost gone. So I decided to use acrylic paint to add those details and create ultimate highlights. I like that because the acrylic has a different flow and look that makes the drawing more interesting. Using gel pens and fine liners, I integrated technical symbols and details onto the skin and additional texture on other parts. The details should underline the fact that this is an artificial entity. And there you have it, my comrade Medusa. As you can see, I was thrilled with how this piece turned out, considering I had no idea how to use charcoal in the first place and was stumbling around for the most part. But maybe that was good because I was forced to experiment and find workarounds for different problems. And I really like the mixed media approach to charcoal that gives the work a very unique style. So, where to go from here? While there are a few anatomy issues in the artwork, it still captures the essence of the character I had in mind. This process has taught me a lot and I'm excited to continue exploring charcoal in future projects. Also, I'm looking forward to continue working on the series The Gods of Tomorrow and develop the concept further. I want to work on the depth of my artwork. I'd like it to have several layers of meaning and maybe make some of the random parts make more sense. Like that nonsensical writing? Any coders or techies here? Do you guys know any lines or symbols to use in a context like this? If you enjoyed watching this process, please give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment with your thoughts or any questions you have, and don't forget to subscribe for more art. Your support means the world to me. Bye bye!